There was a guy in 1770 who figured out he could print money and nobody stopped him until he destroyed an entire country's economy. His name was John Law, and he convinced France to let him run their national bank. Not assist it, not advise it, run it. Within 2 years, he had created so much artificial wealth that people were literally trampling each other in the streets just to buy shares in a company that owned nothing but swampland in Louisiana. Think about that for a second. Not factories, not trade routes, not production, swampland. But the story around it was powerful enough to override reality. Then it all collapsed. And France didn't recover for decades. Not months, decades. I'm telling you this because the same pattern is happening right now. Except this time, it's not one guy in a powdered wig. It's your retirement account. My name is Annie, and I spend an inconsiderable amount of time thinking and researching about finance and money. Not casually, obsessively. Because once you start understanding how money actually moves, you realize something uncomfortable. Most people are not investing. They're participating in systems they don't fully understand. If you're someone who feels like traditional investing advice sounds great in theory, but never seems to work when you actually need it to, then this matters more than you think. By the end of this video, you're going to understand something very specific. The exact concentration mechanism that every major brokerage uses to funnel your money into the same handful of companies. And why that could quietly set you up for a crash that doesn't just hurt, but erases years of progress. So let's go back. John Law, Etienne Thibet Archers. France is broke, not slightly struggling, completely overwhelmed by debt. Years of war, poor financial structure, no real solution. Then Law shows up, confident, articulate, different. And he says, I have a solution. Not reduce spending, not increase taxes. No, create money, paper money, backed not by gold, but by future potential, future profits from French territories in America. And when you say it like that, it doesn't sound insane. It sounds like innovation. So the government agrees. They give him power. And with that power, he builds the system. He creates the Mississippi Company, a company that supposedly owns massive land and opportunity in Louisiana. And then he does something critical. He links the company to the money. Now, people aren't just holding currency. They're holding belief, shares, potential. And then the price starts moving. Oop. And once it starts going up, everything changes. Because rising prices create something dangerous. Validation. The share price goes from 500 to Ducato 000 in under 2 years. And suddenly, it's not about logic anymore. It's about participation. Everyone is buying. And when everyone is buying, not buying feels like a mistake. So people start selling everything they own just to get in. Their homes, their valuables, their stability, all exchanged for something that only exists on paper. And here's where it gets worse. Law knows it's fragile. He knows there's no real foundation. So instead of slowing down, he accelerates. He prints more money. He buys more debt. He inflates the system further. Because as long as money keeps flowing in, the illusion holds until it doesn't. In 1720, something shifts. People start asking questions. Quiet ones at first, then louder ones. They want to convert their wealth into something real. Gold. But the system doesn't have it. It never did. And once that truth spreads, collapse is immediate. Within 6 months, everything is gone. Shares crash from 18,000 to 0. Not a correction. An erasure. People who were rich become bankrupt. The economy collapses. Trust disappears. And the people who enabled it, they move on, almost untouched. Now here's why this matters. Because the structure didn't disappear. It evolved. And today, you're part of a version of it. Not through paper money, but through markets, through systems that feel safe, because they're familiar. Right now, your money is being directed in ways you probably haven't fully examined. Let's talk about the S&P 500, the thing almost every financial advisor recommends. Buy it, hold it, forget it. Sounds simple, but here's the reality. More than 30% of that entire index is concentrated in just 7 companies. 7 out of 500. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Tesla. That's not diversification. That's dependency. It just doesn't look like it because it's spread across a bigger number. And here's how the system hides it. Market cap weighting, which means the companies that have already gone up the most get the biggest share of your money. Automatically. You don't choose it. You don't question it. It just happens. So the higher something goes, the more you own, which means you are constantly increasing your exposure to the most expensive parts of the market without realizing it, and that's where the risk builds. Not suddenly, gradually, until something changes. And when it does, the fall is heavier. Because everything is concentrated. We've seen this before. The Nifty 50. The perfect companies. The safest investments. Until they weren't. We saw it in tech in 2000, in housing in 2007. And now, we're seeing the same structure again. Not identical, but familiar. Which brings us to the real question. What do you do? Not theoretically, practically. If I were starting from scratch in 2026, knowing what I know now, this is how I would think. First, I check my actual exposure. Not what I assume. What's real? Because most people don't actually know what they own. Second, I reduce concentration, not eliminate it, but balance it. Because risk isn't about owning assets. It's about how much of each asset you own. Third, I build flexibility, cash, income, options, because the biggest mistake in investing is being forced to act at the worst possible time. And finally, I shift my mindset from maximizing returns to protecting them, because wealth is not built by getting lucky once. It's built by surviving repeatedly, across different environments, across different cycles. And most people fail, not because they didn't try, but because they didn't understand the structure they were in. So before you invest again, ask yourself something simple. Do I actually understand where my money is going? Because if you don't, you're not investing. You're trusting. And history shows that trust without understanding is expensive. If you want to understand how these systems really work, not just what they tell you, but what's actually happening underneath, subscribe. Because most people never look this deep. And the ones who do, stop playing the game blindly.